City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded March 6, 2019.
Ready to go.
6:30.
Hey, roll call, please.
Roll call. Breckman.
Here.
Gladowski.
Here.
Paul is excused. Kirsch.
Here.
McComb is excused. McDonald.
Here.
Overstat.
Here.
O'Conic.
Here.
Slawinski.
Here.
Smith. Sorensen.
Here.
He might, Smith might be out of town too, because I think he called earlier.
Okay, item number 2, approval of the minutes of the January 2nd meeting, which some of us vaguely recall.
I move approval. It's big.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 3, request to change the policy and allow non-refundable lodge rental deposit to be returned.
Yeah, in my agenda notes, I explained, a person had rented the lodge. They had a fishing tournament. It was a fundraiser for her son who had passed away, drowned. And they were holding it at a local tavern on the river. They were having problems working stuff out. She approached us. She wanted a 2-day rental. I explained to her at the time, when you do 2 days or 3, it's non-refundable. She said, I understand, but I'd like to rent it. So she rented the 2 days. That was back in May. She showed up about a month ago, said she worked out the differences with the place they were using and wanted the money back, the non-refundable. I explained to her it's non-refundable. She knew that when she rented it, and she understood and said she did know that. I explained to her the policy, why we're doing it. We had problems with people renting 2 and 3 days, then would find another venue and then just leave us, hanging. So she just thought, because it's a fundraiser and they'll be short now $100, that the money should be refunded. So I explained to her, probably 2 years ago, we established the policy, and our people canceling on us dropped to probably, I think, 3 or 4 that we've done the non-refundable and kept the money, and that the only way we do it is to change the policy. And if we change the policy, go back again, we're going to go back to where we were before with generally weddings. People would reserve it for 3 days, and then they'd find another venue, and half the time they wouldn't call us back, and we'd be sitting on open dates. So it's here tonight.
Okay. Mike.
Well, I'd like to move that we reject this request. I think, in fairness to everybody in the city that wants to use our
I'll
facilities.
second before.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, I
Better second.
thought there
before.
was a second. but yeah. Just, in fairness to other citizens, I think that's a good policy. Why should somebody be able to cancel and then the place goes unused and someone else could have used it? I mean, it's just common sense.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to reject, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item number 4, request to create fence art on fence in Emerson Park.
I was approached by the Friends of Emerson. The PowerPoint was in the packet. We have the PowerPoint here, and I guess Mike is probably here, O'Mara, to explain it, if there's questions. You'd have to come to the mic there, Mike.
Michael O'Mara, 1809 Clark Street, Stevens Point. I'm a member of the Friends of Emerson Park. We're proposing is that we could put some temporary art on the fence. It would be made out of recycled materials. And if you look at the
Just let me know when to stop.
deal, keep going. No, go down. Go the other way. I have it here and it came up.
Yeah.
Keep going up, go up. Oh, gee, I don't know. You have a different one than I do, so
Okay.
I'll show you. I have a picture of what they're proposing. It would look like this on the fence.
Is that, what's the material?
It's,
Scroll down, Tom, it's like
There
page
it is, right
16.
there.
There we go.
Image, it's there, right there.
okay, right here. Imagine,
Oh,
and it's, imagine what the new park could be. It would be, it
Sorry.
would be made out of recycled bottles and dyed fabric. It would be up for, we anticipate, depending upon how it's holding up, as a maximum of 60 days. And then we might put up another one. But the idea was, we want to draw attention, because we're going to start trying to, help and raise some money for some park development. I don't know if anyone's told you what we're thinking of. What we were thinking of is having a park that's pretty much like what you have now, except we wanted to replace the turf, replace the basketball court and the playground equipment. Otherwise, it's mostly a green open space. And we thought that this would help us as we start our fundraising efforts and to point out to the community that this is a new park. Yes,
Mike, you said it's going to be recycled materials?
yes.
Will the materials, when you take them down, also be recycled? I don't like
Yes.
the idea of a lot of junk being created in a green
It's,
space. So.
There's a university group that does recycling. They're going to supply us with the material, and it's going to be given back to them. They told us that they would make sure that all the bottles and everything are clean before we start to use them. Yes.
Mike, what's the maintenance on something like that over the 60-day period? I guess my concern is somebody comes along and pops their hand down the fence and, does things to it. So when that goes up, is it just going to exist as it is, or will there be potentially some ongoing maintenance?
I think it's our intention that we would try to keep it so it looks good. We don't want to,
Okay,
we, more than anyone, want that park to look
right.
like a desirable place. And a vertical garbage dump is not what we want. And we would appreciate your approval.
Jeremy.
I guess I just want to just clarify that there, it's just going to be images on there and not advertising or anything like that.
Well, no, there's going to be no advertising. There's going to be nothing commercial on it. And this one is the first one we want to put up, the Imagine with the trees and the hearts.
I think I put that in my notes too, that the motion might want to include, the maintaining and removal of, that would be their responsibility, no advertising, and you may want to do, no political statements. So, and I don't think they intend that, but
It's a good idea, because, someone might want to do this in another venue.
Any-
I've seen designs and things like this very similar in other places that I've traveled, and they are just so cool and really draw a lot of attention to what's going on. So with that, I would like to move approval with the staff recommendations of staff reviewing the proposed installations, and that the Friends of Emerson Park are responsible for maintaining and removing, and that there will be no advertising nor political statements allowed.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and the Friends of Emerson Park, thank you.
Okay, item number 5, the naming of the former Canadian National Abandoned Rail Line, Rails Trails Project, and there was an article in the paper, a solicitation of suggestions, and 19 names have been submitted, so we need a process to determine which we would recommend. And since it's a rather long list, my suggestion is that after whatever discussion we have, that we each vote on one name. In the first vote, if one name gets the majority, that's decided. If no single name gets the majority, we will then take the two highest and run off again until we get, how many people do we have here? 2, 3, 4. Not sure. Okay. Well, anyhow, obviously, yeah. Okay, so, yes, Mike.
The names are up on the.
Thank you. And those are some very good suggestions. It's not often we get an opportunity like this to name a trail, and there was a lot of work that had gone into it for grant writing and the construction of the trail and the approval. I might propose something slightly different than some of the names on there, but I wanted to talk a little bit about a theory, I guess, if you will. We have in this community, in my opinion, the best park system in the entire state of Wisconsin and beyond. And that is in large part due to one person. That person also helped establish the Green Circle Trail, of which this is going to be a part of. For now over 37 years, Director Tom Schrader has made the city park system what it is. It took a lot of other people. I'm not going to give them complete 100% credit, but I'll give them a big chunk of the credit, because without that leadership and that direction, our park system would not be as fabulous as it is today. Riverfront Rendezvous, started by Tom. And again, going back to the Green Circle Trail, Tom was on the board, and they met at Al's Diner, and that's how the Green Circle Trail got started. Other people were involved, but I would like to suggest that, I see Schrader Trail is up there, but maybe you could do a combination, Schrader Spur, Schrader Connection, and take into account some of the other suggestions that have been made. But I think it's important that we recognize the accomplishments of the soon-to-be retired longtime Parks Director of the city of Stevens Point, Tom Schrader. With that, I also want to point out one thing in your packet. There was a letter from Marianne Leszewski talking about the Reed Rochelo Memorial Trail. And she made a comment that I was in favor of naming it Reed, but I heard someone else was doing the Tom Schrader. That's not exactly how it happened. She had a petition going around, and I said I'm not going to sign it because I think it should be named after Tom, who was retiring. I also want to point out that Reed Rochelo, in the 90s, when the Green Circle Trail was starting, he was actually opposed to it. He wrote the state intervener. The intervener position is defunct now. I think Thompson took care of that in like mid-90s, something like that. But it was created for public people to go and voice their opinions, and that intervener was supposed to be the voice of the citizen to the DNR. And Reed actually petitioned the state intervener to stop the Green Circle Trail from happening. So I hope you take my suggestion into consideration. Schrader Trail, Schrader Connection, Schrader Spur, but recognize the accomplishments of our retiring longtime Parks Director. Thank you.
Is applause permitted?
Please state your name and address.
Tori Jennings, Alder for District 1. I also want to speak in support of Schrader Trail. Tom, I'm getting choked up. Your legacy in this community is incredible. I'm a heavy user of the Green Circle Trail, as thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are. It is an economic engine for this community. It's beautiful. Socially, economically, everything that trail does and our park system does is amazing. Your legacy is long and deep in this community, and I think the least we can do is to leave this memorial in your name in perpetuity. So thank you, Tom, for everything you do.
All right, does anybody else wish to make a comment?
Yeah,
Mike?
I guess I'm the oldest one in terms of service on this park board, so I was around before Tom, I was on the board before Tom even got here. So these people speak better than me anyway, so, but I just like to back up what they said, and I think we should do it unanimously, actually.
I wanted to thank everyone who submitted suggestions. Some of these suggestions are really great, and I actually loved reading the stories about the people and their contributions. It certainly reminds me that so many awesome things have been happening way before my time, and it was kind of fun to read those little snippets of history. I also am in favor of naming the trail after Director Schrader. I'm wondering if he has any suggestions about a possible trail name that he would like, if, in the event that we choose to name it after you. Not to put you on the spot, Director Schrader, but.
Well, I would say I submitted the connector, the connection, so I'm disappointed mine didn't get picked. So no, I'm just humbled and honored. I mean, again, like everybody said, I wasn't I mean, a lot of times, when in this community, the best time is just not getting people's ways and things happen. So I think I did a good job for letting things happen and not getting people's way. So, no, but no, I'm honored, so.
Looking at the name options, I'm a fan of naming things, and you did connect people. You connected a lot of things in this city and the community. So my mind goes right to the Tom Schrader connection. But then Tom's Trail also alliterates really well. So I just want to, I don't know, I'm conflicted on that.
Well, if we're going to do this by motion, part of the motion could be that he could choose whatever variation that Schrader
I'd like to
that he
make a
chooses.
motion
Yes.
that we select the Tom Schrader Trail or any arrangement thereof as to be selected by Tom Schrader as the name for the new trail.
Okay.
Can I make a friendly amendment to that?
Yes.
I'd like to see it include the word connection, because that was one that Tom had chosen or was suggesting himself, so. Just to include the name.
Do we actually?
You said some variation
I know I have
thereof.
this motion on the floor.
Yeah.
I think we might actually have to follow that outlined voting process rather than is that correct?
I don't know.
Oh,
We only call on Mike, so.
Thank you. First of all, that was not an official procedure, so you do not have to. It's this body's decision on how to choose the naming. You can do it through motion, you can do it through voting, or flip a coin, throw darts at a wall, whatever you'd like. I would caution on behalf of Tom, not put that burden on him.
Oh.
It's really awkward to be honored with a trail named after you and then you pick the name. So I would suggest that perhaps, Matt had some good ideas. Tom's Trail really rolls off the tongue really good. However, it doesn't incorporate the name.
Need the name.
Tom could be anybody.
Yeah.
20, 30, 40 years from now, Tom's Trail doesn't signify that impact. I would recommend that, like Liz said, the connection, and Tom said connection was part of his name, just Schrader Connection. And it really does. It's connecting communities, but it also speaks to, like Matt had said, all of the other connections that the Director Schrader made in this community. I was just talking about it today because we're working on a replacement, which is going to be a daunting task in and of itself. But Tom was connected. Tom is connected. He knows people. Sorry to talk about you like you're gone already.
I'm pinching
But
myself.
it's really about making those connections and those partnerships within the community that has allowed our park system to thrive, because a lot of this is volunteer work. The dog park, the disc golf and things like that, a lot of that is done through volunteers. And without those connections, Tom would have had a much harder job. So I would respectfully recommend the Schrader Connection.
Sounds good to me.
that sounds good to you? Okay, so then we do not have a second, correct? Just a friendly amendment? What?
I think so, yes.
Yes.
So you could just withdraw.
Okay, so I withdraw that motion, and I'd like to make a new motion
All right.
naming the new trail the Schrader Connection, or was it Tom Schrader Connection?
Trader.
Schrader Connection.
Somebody second?
Okay, we need a second.
It was down there.
John O'Connor.
John did it.
Okay. We're certainly not a model of Robert's Rules of Order. But I think the only actual motion we have is the thing we have to follow, so we can call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
You added in the motion that he's responsible for the maintenance.
And now the anticlimax, the director's report.
Let me get the winter sports area. Let me just roll to this. There's a slide that I'm getting at. There it is. The winter sports area, as you can tell, is open. Probably be open for quite a bit longer. One of the dilemmas we're going to run into, it's never really been open this late. And starting the 15th of March, somewhere in there, we're going to lose our entire staff because they're all university students. It's spring break. So if that happens and we still have snow, what we do sometimes is just leave the gate open. We just won't have the warming house open and not the toboggan runs. The toboggan runs will probably be gone by then anyway, because when the sun gets up high enough, it pops the ice out. But if that happens and we have no staff, we'll just open the gates and keep it manicured, but no staff. So I think we've done that one time before when we run into a late season. Generally, by now, the season's almost over, so. That Willett Arena, the UWSP hockey team got a bye this week, so they'll be playing next week, the 16th. If they win then.
When they win?
Okay, when they win on the 16th, there's about a 99% chance we'll be able to host the quarter and the final NCAA championship at the Willett. That would be the 22nd, 23rd of March. So I think it was probably back in the late 80s was the last time we hosted the NCAA championship at the Willett.
Tom, is that game on the 16th here?
Yes, 7
It is.
o'clock.
Okay.
It's a Saturday night. We'll either play St. Norbert's or Augsburg.
Tickets go on sale on Monday.
Monday? Okay. And it might be easier getting the tickets too, because the university's on spring break, so you might stand an easier chance to get into the game. Snow removal, the crews have been doing quite a bit of snow removal. People would say, what do? Well, we have all the sidewalks around the buildings, parking lots, and we do about 7 miles of sidewalk that we have to plow. So it's been keeping us quite busy. Today, they were trying to move everything back in anticipation of the 5 to 8 inches. I know everybody's so excited about getting that. Forestry, been doing a rotation of tree trimming. We're on the south side tree trimming. Fifth Avenue reconstruct, it's a major reconstruct. We're gonna add 30 trees along that area after the reconstruct. Tree Fella got the tree maintenance quote, and Angel Gardens got the flower quote this year. Riverfront Rendezvous, the schedules went out Monday. I think there's some on everybody's desk. There's some in the back. We added this year the Timber Woods Log Lumberjack Show. They're out of Minneapolis. It's going to be 7 shows throughout the 3 days. So usually it's like 2, 5, and 7 are the show hours. They'll have a semi come in with a large pole that they erect into the air. They do climbing, they do chainsaw demonstrations, and they also do log rolling. They bring in a water tank. So it was something new, and we're calling that area by the South Tent Kids Zone. So we're trying to get more kids' activities and more things in that area. And the last thing I had was, it's part of the reconstruct of, it's up on the board, the Reserve Street is going to be reconstructed from Ellis Street all the way to Dixon. And if you're familiar with Reserve Street, it's a real narrow street. I would guess it's not more than 20 feet wide. It almost looks like an alley, but it is Reserve Street. The problem they're running into is they have no place at all to store the pipes and the equipment. So they would store them on about 100 by 100-foot section in Emerson Park. They would fence it off. When the project gets done, they will bring the soil back to where it was, or better than what the condition is now. It'll start sometime late spring, early summer, and it'll go through probably the first part of September. So I had asked them, could they close East Street and store it on East Street? Because East Street just has 3 rental properties. And the Public Works Director said that wouldn't work. And if you look down, there's just not a lot of road space unreserved to store it's pipes, basically. So that's all I had for my director's report. If there's questions. No questions?
Well, a motion to adjourn is appropriate. Second.
Yeah, wait,
All-
but-
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.